great questions. And I think I'll need a half an hour, I think, for each one to have a fulsome discussion on everything that we need. I'll start with timber first, since that was the first question that you asked. I just want to put on the record that I love the timber industry. And I hate calling it a timber industry because in Alaska, we don't really have a timber industry. We have a collection of family businesses that contribute a lot to their communities and that are providing an incredible service to the world, which is providing music. You know, I think many of you hopefully had an opportunity to see a recent Wall Street Journal op-ed that talked about, you know, where do these old growth trees harvested out of the Tongass go? Well, they go to places like Steinway or Yamaha. They go to guitar makers. They go to a number of other musical instrument manufacturers because there's really no substitute in the world for old growth Sitka spruce. And so I love the family timber businesses that we have here in the state. And frankly, we don't have much of an industry. And you know, that fact is not lost on many of you. It wasn't that long ago, back in the 90s, that we had a pulp mill here in Ketchikan, that we had a pulp mill, or excuse me, here in Sitka, and we also had a pulp mill in Ketchikan. These are important economic drivers for Southeast communities. These entities provided a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities. They helped facilitate a lot of investment into some of the power generating infrastructure that we all continue to enjoy. So the timber industry, to me, is a vital piece that is missing currently in Southeast. And largely that's been born out of federal policy. And I'll just provide a little vignette, a statistic that highlights this point. So in the year 2024, last year, the state on its lands managed specifically just here in Southeast, so our Southeast area state forests, and we'll also include the lands operated or excuse me, owned by the Mental Health Trust and the university system to a smaller extent. But on collectively state lands, we harvested just over 24 million board feet of timber last year. And that was harvested on about 1,000 acres of state land. So 24 million board feet on 1,000 acres of state land. That's how much was logged. On the Tongass, which, by the way, is a 19 million acre forest, which is coincidentally the largest national forest in our country, as many of you know, they harvested 2 million board feet. So we harvested 10 times the amount of timber on 1,000 acres of state land than the entire National Forest Service could come up with on 19 million acres. So if that sounds like it's not balanced, if that sounds like it's a little wonky, it's because it is. The Tongass is arguably the most mismanaged federal asset in the entire system. It doesn't work for a lot of people. It works great for preservationists and folks that want to treat humans as intruders on land, but it doesn't work for folks that want to use it as an economic base. It doesn't work for the state. We import north of 150 million board feet of timber into the state every year. Why can't we produce that here? Why is it that we have to go to Washington State or Oregon or Canada in order to import our lumber here? Well, it's because our operators here don't have the certainty that they need to invest in the kind of milling equipment that they need to make utilization of our forests. And so in my mind, the state has done everything that it can over the past, I mean, frankly, probably decade, more or less, trying to nurse our remaining timber operators along. Our challenge is, of course, is we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as what the state has as available resource. So we are in a challenging time. Now, fortunately, there are some rays of hope on the horizon. We're in the process of working with the U.S. Forest Service to negotiate a shared stewardship agreement. This agreement would basically give the state management authority over some 300,000 acres of the Tongass We're utilizing our Good Neighbor Authority. We can actually start to conduct timber sales, and the state itself can drive more timber activity forward because we know how to do it. And the Forest Service, on the other hand, has atrophied up here to a large extent, and they don't even have the capacity to offer more timber available to our folks that need it. And so we're looking forward to that. I think that will be a help, but fundamentally, my belief is that in order for us to have a sustainable timber industry in Southeast, and in order to enable our communities to grow, because we haven't even talked about geologic hazards, which is another important function that my department conducts, we need room. We need room for development. We need room for new housing. And our communities here are constrained by the fact that many of them are surrounded by the Tongass. And so we are looking into pursuing a land exchange deal where the state can put up state lands and in other parts of the state and trade them for lands here in Southeast, and specifically those lands that would enable our communities to grow, provide opportunities for expansion, and of course, adding to the state's resource base with our forests so that we can actually have managed forests. We can provide industry with that kind of certainty that they need to continue to make investments in milling equipment and the like, and hopefully bring some measure of self-sufficiency when it comes to providing the timber that all of us need to build our homes and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of challenges there and hurdles to be overcome, but yet I think fundamentally without more land here in Southeast, all of us are going to be constrained. On the mining side, I'll just hit on that.